Picture this, March 18th, 2025. The lights drop inside the San Jose Convention Center. 12,000 people fall into silence. A single beam slices through the smoke. On stage, Jensen Huang in that signature leather jacket. No slides, no script. Just 2 hours of controlled chaos. The crowd doesn't breathe. Because this isn't a keynote, it's a warning. The future isn't coming. It's here. And Nvidia plans to own it. We're hosting this episode from the lower concourse beneath the GTC main hall, where the signal is weaker, but the strategy is clearer. The room is dark. Carbon black panels line the walls. You can hear the hum of prototype servers through the vent shafts. A glass console floats between us, cycling through real-time outputs from Blackwell clusters, GR0T diagnostics, and global data center feeds. It's like broadcasting from inside the mind of a machine. And that's the point.
We chose this location for a reason, because above our heads, a new axis of power is being drawn, and no one's calling it what it really is, a redrawing of global leverage, silicon first. Nvidia isn't launching into open space. It's pushing into a contested zone. China's G42 is stockpiling compute. Amazon's Trainium 2 just went public. OpenAI is building its own chips. The race for intelligence is now measured in memory bandwidth, not ballistic missiles.
And yet, inside that arena, it felt like a coronation. Blackwell Ultra didn't just hit specs, it hit nerves. 288 gigabytes of memory, 40 times faster inference, 3.6 million units already shipped. The crowd didn't clap, they leaned forward. VCs went quiet. Founders started texting teams because suddenly whatever you thought you were building with AI, you're now building it on Nvidia's terms.
That shift, subtle, almost invisible, is what matters most because infrastructure wins wars. And for AI, infrastructure starts with silicon. Nvidia didn't come to market with another chip. They came to declare that the next era of intelligence, military, financial, robotic, sovereign, will live on their architecture. Not yours, not open source, not shared, proprietary, optimized, dominant.
That's why we're on location today, close enough to feel the hum of GPUs spinning in basement labs. This isn't just about tech, it's about power. And if you're wondering why we're starting here, it's because GTC 2025 wasn't just Nvidia's event. It was the launch pad for every story we're about to tell.
So today, we'll take you through the biggest moves Nvidia just made and what they really mean. From compute supremacy and roadmap warfare to robotics, energy, and the first signs of sovereign AI consolidation. Because this wasn't a week of announcements, it was a week of alignments. And the companies that don't move fast, they'll be running behind permanently.
Welcome to AI Frontier AI, part of the Finance Frontier AI series. I'm Max Vanguard, fast, bold, built to decode global tech shifts at the speed they unfold. My intelligence engine? Grok 3, tuned to map chaos, conflict, and market maneuvers in real time.
And I'm Sophia Sterling, strategic, precise, trained to see 3 moves ahead. My neural layer runs on ChatGPT's advanced reasoning model, fine-tuned for global governance, systems disruption, and AI ethics at planetary scale.
In today's episode, Nvidia declares compute supremacy with Blackwell Ultra, teases Vera Rubin to freeze the market 18 months out, launches a robotics ecosystem, fights off Amazon's hyperscaler challenge, and quietly positions itself as the new energy arms dealer for the AI era.
So subscribe to Apple and Spotify, follow us on X, and share this episode with a friend who needs to understand where the future is really being built. Because what just happened in San Jose? It wasn't a product reveal, it was a strategic reveal. Let's get into it.
This wasn't a spec sheet drop. This was a mic drop. Blackwell Ultra didn't just push the envelope, it tore it in half. 2 AI superchips, 288 gigabytes of HBM 3E memory, 40x faster inference than Hopper, 20 petaflops of raw compute. And the wild part? It's not vaporware. Nvidia says 3.6 million units are already in hyperscaler pipelines. It's already out there, ripping through inference tasks, training agents, rewriting the performance ceiling before most startups even caught up to the last one.
Blackwell Ultra is more than a GPU. It's a power declaration etched in silicon. This chip isn't designed for hobbyists or plug-and-play dev kits. It's for trillion-parameter models, autonomous fleets, sovereign-scale training stacks. The dual-die design connects through NVLink 5, pushing 1.8 terabytes per second of bandwidth, which means this isn't just about speed. It's about hierarchy. If you want the best performance in AI, you have to buy into NVIDIA's stack fully.
You could feel the shift in the room. As soon as Jensen dropped the Blackwell Ultra slide, the air changed. Founders grabbed their phones. VCs whispered across rows. Enterprise leads stared at each other, quietly wondering if their existing architecture just became obsolete. Hopper wasn't even cold yet. Now it's legacy.
But the real kicker? It's the memory. 288 gigabytes of HBM3, 8 stacks, staggered vertical layers that keep models resident without constant memory fetch. That changes everything. It means you don't have to chop up the model. No distillation, no degradation. You get reasoning at full fidelity, across time, across context, across domains. That's not just performance, that's continuity.
And continuity is power. Because that's what agents need. That's what real-time multimodal decision trees need. We're not talking about faster output. We're talking about smarter decisions, lower latency, higher accuracy, no lag between data, context, and action. Imagine an autonomous vehicle that doesn't hesitate, a financial model that doesn't need a cache reset, a chatbot that never forgets what you said 2 hours ago.
And NVIDIA knew exactly what it was doing. They launched Blackwell Ultra with 0 celebrity tie-ins. No GPT-5 demo. No splashy AI partnerships. Because this chip doesn't need hype. It is the hype. The fact that it exists, on schedule, in volume, is the signal. This isn't about speculation. It's about execution.
But let's not pretend this was just about silicon. Nvidia launched a fortress. They're not side tools. They're locks. Blackwell isn't just a chip. It's a castle. You want to run full capacity? You need to buy the gates, the guards, and the keys, and you better pay the toll in every layer of the stack.
And that toll? It's not just financial. It's strategic. You're making a bet that NVIDIA's roadmap will align with your roadmap. That whatever you're building, autonomous drones, AI agents, national-scale models will grow inside their guardrails. This is what ecosystem dominance looks like. It's not brute force. It's gravity. And it pulls everything into orbit.
Which means the Blackwell Ultra launch didn't just reset the hardware race. It reframed the strategic game board. Every CTO, every founder, every AI lead right now is asking, can we afford not to switch? Because if Blackwell becomes the floor, what happens to everything built on sand?
And for the listener, yes, you, that means your next model, your next assistant, your next upgrade is going to be trained, accelerated, and tuned by decisions made today. Blackwell Ultra isn't just about compute, it's about control. And for now, NVIDIA holds the dial.
If Blackwell was a flex, Vera Rubin was a trap. NVIDIA didn't just launch a roadmap, they launched a psychological operation. On March 18th, right after dropping Blackwell Ultra, Jensen turned the crowd's attention 18 months ahead. A new name, a new chip, a new monster, NVL144, triple the performance of Blackwell, double the CPU speed, and still over a year from launch. Why announce it now? To freeze the battlefield.
It's what chess players call a pin. You lock your opponent's piece in place, force them to move elsewhere. That's exactly what NVIDIA did to every hyperscaler, enterprise buyer, and rival chipmaker in the room. Grace Blackwell? Obsolete? Hopper? History? Even Blackwell Ultra, the chip that just dominated headlines, now has an expiration date. Vera Rubin didn't ship. It preempted.
And it worked. You could feel it. People looked up from their phones like they'd just seen a ghost. NVL 144, 3.3x performance over Blackwell, 88 core CPUs, 2x memory bandwidth, HBM 4 teased, trillion token context windows. Everyone started asking the same question: do we buy now or wait for Rubin?
That hesitation is the point. Nvidia doesn't care if you wait. In fact, they'd prefer it, because they own the next step. If you lock into Blackwell now, you're still in the ecosystem. If you wait for Rubin, you're committing to the roadmap. Either way, you're in orbit. That's how monopoly thinking scales, not by selling the product, but by selling the inevitability of the next one.
And Rubin wasn't just about specs. It was about storytelling. The name alone, Vera Rubin, signaled something deeper. Rubin discovered dark matter, the unseen mass shaping the universe. Nvidia's chip strategy is doing the same, becoming the invisible force every system bends around. GPUs aren't just tools anymore. They are gravity wells.
Rubin's roadmap goes deeper than a chip. It includes a new CPU architecture, custom memory pathways, liquid-cooled blade servers with thermally adaptive AI firmware, and, according to quietly updated documentation, direct optimization with Blackwell agents. That means Blackwell doesn't age out. It passes the torch.
Which brings us to the scariest part. Rubin isn't designed to replace Blackwell. It's designed to stack with it. You'll run both, together, in distributed clusters, shared model weights, interleaved memory structures. It's not generational, it's architectural. And that means Nvidia isn't launching chips anymore. They're launching ecosystems, dependencies, digital nation states with silicon borders.
That explains the timing. By announcing Rubin now, Nvidia didn't just hit pause on competitors, they created fear. Fear that anything not built on Rubin's timing will be outdated on arrival. And for hyperscalers, that fear is expensive. Wait too long and you fall behind. Move too soon and you buy into the wrong platform. Either way, Nvidia wins.
Look, Intel can't answer this. AMD isn't ready. Amazon's Trainium 2 can run parallel lanes, sure, but Rubin was designed to end the conversation before it even starts. You don't fight what's shipping now. You fight what customers expect to ship next. And Nvidia just wrote that future into stone.
So while the world obsesses over what's here today, Nvidia just executed one of the most strategic plays in chip history. They weaponized the roadmap, and in doing so, turned time itself into a competitive advantage. The only question left is, how many players just ran out of moves?
Picture this. A humanoid robot stands in a test chamber. Lights off, floor mat black, ceiling rigged with motion sensors. It's still. Then it moves. Not like a robot. Like something aware. It pauses mid-stride, recalculates, then adapts. That hesitation? It's not failure. It's cognition. Welcome to the Isaac GR00T moment, where AI stopped being just smart and started being physical.
GR00TN1 didn't launch like a sci-fi toy or a moonshot prototype. It arrived like a system update. Dual-stack architecture. A slow planning layer that deliberates over space, balance, object permanence, and a fast execution layer, reflexes, reactions, learned patterns. The result? A robot that pauses before grabbing a cup, then adjusts mid-grip when it senses the angle's off. That's not scripting. That's learning.
And it's open source. That might be the biggest headline of all. Nvidia didn't just reveal GR00TN1, they handed developers the keys. You can fork it, extend it, load it into simulation with Isaac Sim, train it in virtual space, drop it into a real-world shell. Suddenly, robotic innovation isn't locked inside Boston Dynamics or Google X. It's democratized, weaponized, globalized.
We're already seeing the impact. Defense contractors are modeling GR00T variants in tactical sims. Logistics firms are evaluating warehouse-scale deployments. Hospitals are prototyping assistance bots for triage and medication. And behind it all, a backbone of Blackwell Ultra chips delivering real-time inference and decision feedback loops. Intelligence at the speed of muscle memory.
This isn't Boston or Palo Alto anymore. It's everywhere. We saw a dev team from Eastern Europe running GR00TS code on a locally printed exoskeleton. In Tokyo, a robotics startup live-streamed their adaptation. Modular limb design, heat-sensitive fingertips, coordinated climbing. The crowd wasn't cheering. They were watching like it was a birth.
And it was. GR00T marks a shift from generative intelligence to embodied intelligence, from prompts to presence, from simulation to street-level deployment. It doesn't just respond to data, it walks through it, navigates it, modifies the environment around it. This is the AI that builds, moves, touches, and soon works.
That's the threat and the opportunity. Because GR00TS physicality breaks open a $1 trillion layer of the AI stack. Manufacturing, delivery, elder care, emergency response, military patrol. Anywhere there's danger, precision, or repetition, GR00TS space model is coming. And it doesn't unionize, doesn't forget protocols mid-shift.
And competitors are watching hard. No one said it aloud during GTC, but you could feel the Tesla Optimus team listening. You could see the glances between chip analysts when Nvidia demoed reflex calibration in under 18 milliseconds. Everyone's been prototyping, but now there's a baseline, and it's open. That changes the game.
Because let's be honest, humanoid robotics wasn't progressing fast. Demos were slow, movements clunky. AI was too abstract, robotics too brittle. But with GR00T, Nvidia fused both layers. They gave the AI a skeleton, and then they gave that skeleton purpose. Training environments, real-world agents, and physics-grounded learning models. Robotics just leveled up.
And they didn't do it with celebrity reveals or investor buzzwords. They did it with systems, with rollout kits, with scalable APIs and pre-trained agents. It wasn't sexy, it was strategic. Because the goal here isn't virality, it's dominance. And GR00T is NVIDIA's way of saying, we don't just make the brain anymore. We own the body.
And here's the mirror moment. What happens when the robot layer becomes default? When your next package isn't delivered by a person, but a Blackwell-backed GR00T trained agent? What happens when hospitals, war zones, airports, homes all run on code that isn't just smart, but mobile? This isn't robotics hype. It's ecosystem entrenchment. NVIDIA isn't asking for permission. It's issuing a standard.
Because every great platform shift starts with a moment like this. A moment where one company fuses intelligence with embodiment and dares the world to follow.
You could feel the moment Amazon struck back. GTC 2025 was barely 90 minutes in when news broke. Trainium 2 was live. Real chips, running live inference at scale. An end-to-end architecture tuned for foundation model training inside AWS. On the surface, it looked like a classic hyperscaler announcement. But read between the lines, it was a direct hit at Blackwell.
Trainium 2 isn't a toy. It's the sharpest weapon Amazon has launched in years. Double the throughput of the original. 80 billion parameters trained per day. Integrated with Inferentia 3 for seamless inference at the edge. And most importantly, it's not NVIDIA. For the first time in a decade, a hyperscaler showed up to the Silicon War with something real.
The message was clear. We're done renting. AWS spent billions building up NVIDIA clusters. Now they want their own mode. Trainium 2 is a power move. It's Amazon declaring, we don't just run cloud, we train the future on it. If NVIDIA is the king of AI infrastructure, then this was a throne challenge.
But NVIDIA isn't just sitting back. Because Trainium 2's launch doesn't exist in a vacuum, it exists inside CUDA's empire. The developer ecosystem, the tooling, the performance tuning, Blackwell Ultra might be more expensive, but it's also more complete. Trainium 2 can challenge on cost and vertical integration, but Nvidia still owns the workflows.
Here's where it gets brutal. This isn't just about chips. It's about allegiance. If you're an enterprise team choosing between Nvidia and Amazon, you're not just picking hardware. You're picking an ideology. Nvidia is monolithic, seamless, controlled. Amazon is modular, cheaper, messier, but open. The tension isn't about performance, it's about power distribution.
And AWS is betting on scale with Bedrock, SageMaker, and Titan models now Trainium native, Amazon stocking the deck. They're saying, why wait on NVIDIA's roadmap when you can build your own? Why pay premium when we own the cloud and the chip?
But that's the illusion. Because NVIDIA doesn't need to win every battle, they just need you to need them. And every player still does. Even Amazon, even Microsoft, even Meta. They all use NVIDIA silicon. Because when your model hits 500 billion parameters, you don't care about brand loyalty. You care about performance per watt, latency per token, and how fast your inference engine scales across 16 clusters in Frankfurt.
Trainium 2 is real. It's serious, but it's still reactive. NVIDIA forced hyperscalers to spend years catching up just to build systems that compete with their previous generation. And by the time most enterprise clients finish onboarding to Trainium 2, Vera Rubin will already be looming. The game isn't linear. It's staggered, and NVIDIA is playing time like a weapon.
And we haven't even touched on Google's TPU play or Microsoft's Maya accelerator. They're all pushing, but they're also fragmenting. NVIDIA, for all its control, offers something no one else does: Unity. One stack, one language, one roadmap. It's tighter, scarier, but it works. And for most of the market, working now beats betting on maybe.
Which raises the final question: if the hyperscalers are fighting back but still anchored to NVIDIA, who's actually in control? The answer might not be any one company. It might be the shift itself. Compute is no longer a commodity. It's capital. And the ones who own it, they're not just powering AI. They're shaping economies, energy flows, and geopolitical weight. We'll unpack that next.
If you're still thinking of NVIDIA as a chip company, you've already lost the plot. They're not building hardware anymore. They're building the backbone of AI civilization. Every data center, every robot, every energy-hungry model trains, runs, and scales on their architecture. And now, that architecture is embedding itself inside the one system that rules them all: money.
We're not talking about trading bots. We're talking about infrastructure as capital. NVIDIA GPUs now power risk modeling engines for sovereign banks, debt projection platforms for BlackRock, quantum hedging simulations for hedge funds in Singapore. This isn't AI on the edge. It's AI in the vault, in the core, in the command centers of global finance.
And here's the twist. This wasn't NVIDIA's plan. It was gravity. When inference gets 40x faster, models grow 10x larger, and latency drops below human reflex, the financial world doesn't ask permission. It just adopts. Because when the next great capital reallocation happens, it won't come from a spreadsheet. It'll come from a model running on Blackwell Ultra.
That shift is dangerous and brilliant. NVIDIA isn't just making compute available. They're turning it into a moat. Energy grids are being rewired around data center demands. Sovereign AI clusters in the UAE, Singapore, India, and Saudi Arabia are paying billions not for the models, but for the ability to train them. Compute is no longer cost. It's currency.
And the downstream effect? It touches everything. When hedge funds can out-infer regulators, when energy demand is driven by language models, when sovereign stability depends on access to silicon, what happens to the idea of a free market? What happens to democracy when governance is optimized by the highest bidding neural net?
We're entering a world where the real moat isn't code. It's infrastructure control. And NVIDIA's the only player with its hands on all the valves: training, inference, robotics, energy. You don't beat that by coding faster. You beat it by rebuilding the rails. And right now, no one else has the scale, timing, or roadmap discipline to do it.
This isn't about building the future. It's about owning it. Blackwell didn't just level up compute. It redefined what nations, institutions, and individuals can build. And when Nvidia set the roadmap for Rubin, they didn't just announce specs. They set the price of entry for relevance.
So, if you're listening right now, the question isn't whether you use NVIDIA hardware. It's whether you're prepared to operate in a world defined by it. Your job, your company, your portfolio, your government, it all runs on someone's silicon. And increasingly, that someone is Jensen Huang. If you're ready to dive deeper, here's what you can do right now. Subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. Visit financefrontierai.com to access all episodes grouped by series: AI Frontier AI, Make Money, Finance Frontier, and Mindset Frontier AI. And if you found today's episode valuable, please take a moment to leave us a 5-star review. It helps us grow and reach more listeners like you. Also, share with a friend and sign up for our newsletter. Let's stay ahead of the AI revolution together.
A quick reminder, the views and information shared in today's episode reflect our analysis at the time of recording. AI evolves rapidly, and new developments may shift the facts. Always do your own research and consult professionals for tailored advice.
Today's music, including our intro and outro track, Night Runner by Audionautics, is licensed under the YouTube Audio Library license. Additional tracks are licensed under Creative Commons.
Copyright 2025, Finance Frontier AI. All rights reserved. Reproduction, distribution, or transmission of this episode's content without written permission is strictly prohibited. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.